Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's so fantastic to see you and welcome back to Genshin Impacts. Oh by golly ladies and gentlemen, here's a video in the long time making. Holy moly. Also, I scoured everything I possibly could before making this video because I was trying to build my Albedo the right way and everybody's saying different things and it's so friggin' frustrating. It's maddening. Anyways. Coffee, help me. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Albedo. I'm sure you know about him, but we're going to go through it. But today we're going to be trying to answer the question, or I'm going to be bringing you guys my findings on having watched a bunch of videos, writing down the numbers of what everyone's saying they're actually getting, and then actually showing what is basically kind of the same. And just spoiler alert, if you want to build your Albedo for a little bit of attack rather than defense, you're still probably going to be dealing the same amount of damage, maybe not the same, but around the same amount of damage, which was my question I was trying to answer for myself. I was like, should I build Albedo for defense maxed out? Should I build him for a critical damage? Should I build him for not attack, but instead defense on my cup, or what? Basically just trying to figure out which one's which. A quick answer to that is it's all kind of, there is a somewhat of a guideline, but more or less it's kind of up in the air. Like all of it's kind of giving you the same thing, whether it's the damage is just getting changed from your E to your alt or your alt to your E. And yeah. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into Albedo. At least my Albedo. Now, first things first, Albedo's base skills. If you guys want to play him, he's still up in the test arena, but by the time this gets to you, maybe he's not. But hopefully you played with him. But one of the things people constantly said when actually playing Albedo is that he's one of the best characters to play. Mostly because his abilities kind of just do a lot of stuff for you, and he feels good because he makes a big pop sound, and it feels good when you see all those blossoms happen on your screen. He's fantastic in that regard. He's weirdly like an explosive Klee, in a weird way. A Geo version of Klee and all that, except not at all. But anyways, now by the way, I have 0 constellation for Albedo, which by the way, I was curious about that too. A lot of people said, if you have this thing, then build Albedo for defense, but otherwise go for attack. But then I seen videos people saying, well no, go for defense. These people don't know what they're talking about. And it just created a shit ton of confusion. I'm not sure if you guys can relate to that, and I'm not sure if some of you guys are also like me who are holding off to actually build Albedo because we were trying to get a final verdict on who actually did the math and seeing which one was better. Now, the reason why no one really did that is because everything is kind of the same within some degree. Now this, yes, it is objectively better to build defense, but even if you don't have this, I think it's still better for you to build defense. But anyways, outside of constellation, so those guys who do not know what Albedo does, this is his main bread and butter. Now mind you, this is only at level 7. It can go pretty high, all the way up to level 10 and 9, and that will actually do a lot more for you. It scales pretty damn well, but as you guys can see, it mainly scales off of your defense. So this is kind of the passive thing. If you want to build Albedo for his E, which is the ability to basically randomly deal a huge bunch of damage every 2 seconds. That's geo-based, but it doesn't overwrite the element that actually is being procced. So it's just like the best version of geo damage, if it's ever existed. Anyways, if you want to build this, then you're losing out a little bit on this, but if you build this, then you're losing out a little bit on this, and you end up being kind of where everyone else is anyway, you know what I mean? So I think it's just best to do this. Now we will go over what I think is the best build, the thing that gets you the most consistent damage that I don't have, but I've seen other people have it, and it does seem like out of all of my findings, if you're able to get incredibly lucky, then that's where you should aim for. But otherwise, you can get a lot done with pretty decent, nothing crazy, but pretty decent. Albedo can do amazing with just that in terms of artifact farming. But anyways, so again, his E is fantastic. I'm sure you guys have seen it. You pop this down, you can get a stupid elevator. Why not? You can do some plunge damage. But the thing that's crazy is anyone in this massive radius who is hit will deal a ton of geo damage out of nowhere. Now, his alt is just basically Albedo snapping his fingers, doing a shit ton of burst damage in one area, and then a bunch of the blossoms that you see like when you actually hit somebody, gets spread out and hit. Now the way his blossoms and his alt actually works with his blossoms is it will find an enemy that's in the radius and assign a blossom to that enemy. But if there's only one enemy, then the other 8 that have a chance of spawning or that do spawn will spawn anywhere else. You can get lucky and sometimes they can be close enough to where you can double dip, but otherwise it's not that good. But another thing to note for his blossom, whenever you hit someone and that detonates, or his alt and then the blossoms detonate, it's, again, with that knowledge, if you do have a Venti or anyone who pulls enemies together, an upcoming character that could maybe add in the future, that's going to be insane because those explosions from the blossoms are actually AoE based. So with a Venti, he's just magical because everyone is just getting affected by their own damage that they're taking. And yeah, also it just pulls enemies into his radius, allowing everyone to be affected by the detonation, which is mad good. So Albedo and Venti are just a match made in heaven. Let's pull back to what my main question was with that, because again, I'm pretty sure at this point you guys know his talents, his abilities, and all these fantastic things. Also, something that's you should absolutely keep in the back of your mind, whenever you activate his ult, you get 125 elemental mastery. Now, elemental mastery is essentially whenever you cause a reaction of elements, you just get a buff. So this is just with you for 10 seconds, which is a long ass time. You're gonna always have this, especially if you haven't built for even the slightest recharge, and even not, and you're fighting a lot of enemies, you're gonna get it back just because of the way his regeneration works. Anyways, that's huge. Don't forget about that. So with that in mind, some people who have been building Albedo have just went pure max out his E. And the thing you got to note about is if you make his E really strong, that doesn't make his ult really strong because these are different things. These are transient blossoms, and then these are fatal blossoms. So they're different. So just because you have a heavy hitting E does not mean you're going to have a heavy hitting ult, where maybe you lower your ult's damage but your blossoms hit hard, because they're different. But it's still pretty damn good. Again, some people are like, you should just always stick with Albedo and never use his ult, and it's the worst. First of all, I feel like people forget about the fact that he's buffing your elemental mastery by a freaking monstrous amount. Also, it's what do you call it? It's just good. Even if it's not like 8,000 damage, it's 4,000 damage happening 8 times. And again, if you have like anyone like a Venti, or if you're doing Spiral Abyss and there's enemies all over you, then it's useful to use your ult. So now, let's get into what set you should build, because this is also something I was trying to find out. A lot of people suggested this, and honestly, they did not suggest to do wishes, although some actually did. Stop! Go down! It's a map! It's a map button! Jesus Christ! A lot of people have been suggesting the Archaic Petra set for him, which does a 15 geo bonus. Awesome, that's what we're predominantly dealing, as well as a 35 damage buff of the element of the shield crystal that you pick up. There's a lot going on there. Essentially, geo makes shields, those little crystals on the ground. If you pick up that little crystal, it gives you a shield. For 10 seconds of whatever the crystal's element, whatever the shield you're now wearing, it will buff that elemental damage. So it kind of works a little bit, but one, you're gonna get that shield melted immediately, and two, it's super finagly. So not only do you, in order to get this buff, you need to switch to Albedo to pick up the crystal in order to get that damage buff, which just kind of feels really messy. And yeah, if you happen to be like, oh, I'm going for a crystal, and you're using your main DPS and you pick it up and you're like, oh shit, and you switch to Albedo, doesn't work because it goes off of a timer. As soon as you pick up the crystal, it activates the timer. And if your other character picked it up, then that Albedo didn't pick it up who's wearing this set, so it doesn't work. So it's just very finagly, and just, to me, I don't think it's worth it, especially considering you need to kind of play Albedo in order to actually use this to some degree. You need to change to Albedo, run over, try to pick up a thing, a crystal, and then switch back, and you'll have a pretty decent bump of 35 extra damage. Not bad, but that's not exactly... I don't know, it might be good if you have a Zhongli and you're just trying to get a shit ton more geo damage out of nowhere, sure. But it's just not the way I think you should build him, especially with Albedo's weapons, which one of the weapons that everyone says to use, and for good reason, you have to stay above 90 health. So the idea that you're going to be playing this character and like running around trying to get crystals and then smacked in the face, now you're losing on a shit ton of crit rate, now you're kind of fucked, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't advise this. You can if you want, it's viable, it's just a headache. If you're willing to manage with a headache, you're gonna get a good payoff. Cool. I didn't go with that, because to me it goes against the entire nature of what Albedo is, which, because of his elemental mastery procs, because of everything that Albedo is, which is a support and one of the good ones at that, one of the best almost at that, I think Noblesse Oblige, there's no other character that fits him better. Yes, his ult pushes enemies back for some utility. It also activates a bunch of damage. It's not as crazy as your passive E, but even still, your elemental burst, this will help you kind of retain some of the damage that you're losing by building complete and utterly into defense. Not only that, but because of regeneration weirdness, because of the sword that we're using, it's just kind of nice to have your ult matter, and you can hang on to your ult for a little bit. Anyways, for those guys who do not know what Noblest Obliged does, it gives you 20% extra damage on your elemental burst. Awesome. But also, it says when you use your elemental burst, all of your party gets an attack bonus bumped by 20% for 12 seconds. This does not stack. No shit. It'd be insane if it did. But the idea is you use Albedo's ult, which you're already going to be trying to do anyway because you get elemental mastery, and on top of that, you're getting an extra 20% more damage so that when you switch to your DPS or whatever, you're going to be able to profit immensely. Now, I'm not sure, but I think this is also how this works. But say you also have a Zhongli or another character that has a pretty heavy-hitting ult that scales a little bit with attack. Or maybe you have other characters that scale with their E that increases their attack. I think Chi-Chi, her little tiny wisp that flies around, I think anything that has, I could be wrong on this, any skill that has this this phrasing right here, press skill damage, and it's 36.9%, that is going to scale with your attack. So not only does this make just everybody else in my party better, but also, again, his passive talent, which gives you a shit ton of mastery, also does that. So to me, again, I feel like I'm losing my mind here. I feel like I'm losing my mind with people, even if that's not how that works, and it only gets affected by your base melee. Albedo is made to be a support, so why would you not use his ult, get the mastery gain, and then switch to your main DPS and give him a nice bump of attack with him? So many people build this character so many ways, and they always use like 2-piece Archaic Petra for the Geo damage buff, and then they use 2-piece ult damage for Noblest Obliged. And I'm just like, why not just go full Noblest Obliged for the 20% attack buff that's going to be happening constantly, because Albedo gets his skill back constantly. Also, it lasts 12 seconds, and guess how long his talent lasts? 10 seconds. So it just, to me, synergizes so well, so I don't know why people are building him in that way, but to each their own. But to me, this is working fantastically, especially if you have this setup of like a main DPS. So you use your ult, then you switch to your main DPS and just smash even that much harder, especially for me who has a Razor who's very much built into physical attack and not so much attack. This can help bump up his attack to be something notable. Awesome. Now, the age-old question that to me took so long to actually figure out is, in this whole slew, if you watch any of the videos that came out right as Albedo got launched, there was this thing of people saying, should you build Albedo for attack percentage on your watch, and then build him for critical rate on this, and then of course geo damage on this? That was never debated. You should always go geo damage on your cup. But anyways, people were debating what you should do. Is you should go attack percentage on your main stat for this, and then you should go for crit rate on this, just because that will give you more consistent damage. And you get about 5,000, maybe 6,000 procs on your blossoms. Pretty good if you go that route. But then people said, hey, if you happen to have Constellation 2 of Albedo, then you should go full on defense. Just go defense like crazy. Well, okay. So again, it all seems to kind of lead to the same place. Again, if you happen to build for crit rate and all those other things, your E will be a little bit less, but your ult will hit harder, because it scales a little bit more with attack percentage. So that attack bump that you're getting from this defense goblet, or sorry, this defense watch, will scale better. But that doesn't mean that it's the best overall. In fact, I think the defense build is the best overall build, especially if you haven't built for how I build, which again, I'm losing out on, what is it? I think if you have an attack cup or an attack watch, you have about, what is it, 20% more damage, 40% more damage, or maybe it is the same as defense, 58. I'm getting most of that back with my elemental burst. So I'm not, it's a kind of my way to kind of split the difference. New data that I've seen that seems to be the most consistent with Albedo is to build him for defense, and oddly enough, defense again is a pretty decent way to build him, depending on your artifacts, which is shocking because usually this is crit rate or crit damage. Now, there is the end tier build where this thing changes. But from my findings, even if you don't have Constellation 2, it is still much better to build him for defense. just the way those things scale, it seems to be significantly better, especially considering Albedo does not get that much from, again, getting his attack up. Yes, his attack can slightly scale better with, what is it called? His alt does get a bump from having a higher attack thing, but it's not anywhere near the same length of your thing. Like your E lasts so much longer than your quick burst of your alt. Also, with the way that I have him built, he does not have that much energy recharge, although I still notice I get my alt back so fast, so I don't know what people are talking about with that. I may just be getting lucky, because we'll go into how he regenerates in a minute. But yes, this is the build that I'm currently running. Again, it's not that bad. You all end up in the same kind of domain of damage, which is fucking beating the shit out of things. So it's kind of anecdotal. But you can go, if you have a great watch that happens to be attack-based, it kind of works. I think defense beats it just a little bit, but I don't know. I would just go with defense, but that's where I went. Maybe I'm trying to hedge my bets. I don't know. But this is a pretty fucking terrible gobble, by the way. It's one of the worst that I could have got. But anyways, that's so bad. I just noticed it's none of its percent stats, so it's all just the weakest possible stats besides HP, which is not good for Albedo at all. But anyways, depression. So yes, I went with the defense percent stats on my watch as well as this. Now, one thing to note is this all is kind of weirdly synergizing within his weapon, which is weird as hell, but it's this. The reason why I don't have a crit damage modifier or a crit rate modifier is because of the sword. It's a weird blue sword, I know. This is a lot of people are saying, is it better to use Festering Desire or this one? Yes, no, maybe so. Festering Desire beats this one out by a little bit, but only when it comes to your E damage. So is it really worth it? Probably not. But also, the reason why people are saying just level up this, forget about this, is because you're wasting materials on a blue sword that is only ever going to be probably useful for Albedo, whereas this is going to be useful for everyone. But if you happen to have extra resources and you've already invested in a sword like myself, then this is great. But this is also why I don't have a crit rate mod on. But hopefully one day I'll actually get a crit rate mod that also has a lot of defense percentages, and that will work out. But yes, when you get this thing up to level 80 or 90, you get around, I think it's 45 crit damage, which is nuts, as well as you get a, on just refinement rank, which this is a blue tier resource, so we're going to be able to get these quite a bit. You're getting a 28 crit chance, which is nuts, but you have to be above 90% health, which again facilitates you using his E, maybe his alt, and then quickly spamming away from him, like switching off of him. So that's where that kind of incentivizes that playstyle, whereas with this, you could just use it forever and you'd be fine. But we're also losing out on the regen, which I don't notice I have that much of a problem with. Just because his E lasts so long and you're using your other character's talents and all these things, that it just kind of makes it all come together. Now, the one thing that I did find from my findings, the peak, insane, monstrous build for Albedo is as followed. You're still going to want defense on this, but instead, if you're lucky enough, if you're blessed enough to get a roll of crit rate and crit damage on either of these, and you luck out, and also defense percentage would have been great. But anyways, if you get all those three stats, you're stacked. And if you get a lot of it in either crit rate or crit damage, ideally it'd be crit rate, and you get your attack or your crit chance up to about like 50 or 60, then change this to a crit damage mod, and then you're going to be able to hit like a absolute truck. It's crazy. I've seen a person who has a crit damage build, basically. Yeah, crit damage build. You can see it right here. If you just level that all the way up, you'd have a crazy amount of crit damage in combination with the weapon giving you crit damage even more. So you have about like 280 or not 280, 210, 230 crit damage or something crazy. And then you also have a good chance of critting that hard. The way crits scale in this game is better than just the way defense scales, but that doesn't mean you should not have defense. Again, on your watch, you should have defense. But that, to me, has been the absolute craziest build that I've seen. You're hitting for like 10 to 11,000 damage on a crit, which you're getting consistently because you have around 50% crit rates, which is nuts. Again, a build that is, to me, more attainable because you need to get all of those substats to the point where you can, like, two of your abilities or two of your things need to have crit rate into them, and you having leveled up crit rate enough to be valuable, you know. So, and also you would like to have defense roll on that too, but that's like the best cup on the fucking, in the whole game kind of thing for Albedo, and that's like the perfect roll. But I've seen that what that looks like, and you're hitting for around like 11,000 damage on your proc, which is insane. But I'm sorry I'm still stuck in here for so much, but I just want to let you guys know that's what's going down. Now, if you guys are wondering about my base stats, Albedo, I'm rocking him with 2,000 defense. Kind of nutty in that regard, but that's just how the chips fell. I was not incredibly lucky. I only have 40% crit rates. I would love if that was at least 50, but I also luck out pretty more often than not, so I'm actually able to get that going pretty quick. But yes, ideally you would have a better crit rate, and you'd have a crit damage deca mod on, which would boost your crit damage by a lot. And that's how you start dealing up in the 10 to 11,000 damage per blossom, which gets it's just amazing. It's insane. Every 2 seconds you're just getting another bump of that. That gives Fischl a run for her money even. Anyways, I don't have that much energy recharge. I do have a little bit of geo damage because, by the way, that's what you're also going to want. But yes, those are my stats. Nothing crazy, but it doesn't kind of need to be. Our elemental mastery is 100, but it gets stacked up to 220, I believe, because whenever we activate our E, it just makes his elemental reactions and stuff even better, because that's how he plays. But also when we activate our alt, not her E, sorry, it gives us more attack damage, which helps everybody in my party, as well as I think Albedo. So that's amazing. Again, to go over my artifacts, I didn't really do a good job, but that, not great. This one's okay. We got crit rate, a little bit. We got defense percentage, not bad, 10% defense percentage. Hey, and we got attack percentage to tonight. It would be nice if it just went into a crit rate, but it didn't. But the defense percentage is not bad. The attack is okay. The things you're going to want to miss, I think, with Albedo is elemental mastery and HP. And that's kind of it. That's the only thing that you don't want. Or an HP percent and HP just stat generally. All those things you're not going to want. Elemental recharge can be useful. Crit rate is the most useful. Crit damage also fantastic. And of course defense great. And attack sure can help his alt a little bit. Neat. That one's not the worst. That's actually a pretty good drop for Albedo. For my feather, I got crit damage, 26 crit damage. This one was lucky in that regard. Defense, awesome. Attack, awesome. Elemental mastery, not that good, but it didn't roll into that anyway. And it's yeah. But crit damage, 26%, not bad. Not bad on that one. These two I lucked out on. Now we start getting depressed. We got on our defense goblet, we got attack. Not even attack percentage, it's just attack. This is the worst level of attack. Not good, probably not worth it. HP percentage, not good at all for him. Defense, not even defense percentage. It's all just base shit stats. And then we have HP, also not good. It's not HP percentage, yeah, but we also just don't want HP. This is a really, really bad thing. And if I ever find another one of these, I'll be looking out for it. In fact, I was kind of debating whether I should level up the attack version of it, because we had crit damage, defense, attack, and that I just don't know if it would scale the same way. Whenever I might splurge on that just to see, but I'm almost certain the attack would not scale as well as the defense. If you could get a defense one with better stats, and that's amazing. Now, one thing that is always evident is you need geo damage with any character that does a lot of the elemental damages. You're going to need to bump up that element just to profit immensely. This one, I actually lucked out pretty well. Elemental mastery, not good, but defense and defense, when it comes to goblets that are elementally aligned, that's not bad. There are much worse out there. But yes, that is his Geo Goblet. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. In fact, it is kind of bad. It just kept rolling into HP percentage, actually. I might give this to Zhongli, but Jesus, I didn't notice that it kept going into HP. Oh, that's awful. Anyways, and then finally, our defense final stat, we had Elemental Mastery, yuck, crit damage, and of course, it just kept going into attack. It just kept going into the one skill that's, it could have been worse. It could have went into the defense that's like not even worth it. It's like not the defense percentage. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I apologize. Let's go showcase what this character can do to some extent, but I also apologize for it being such, oh my god, I just want this fucking thing to work, Jesus Christ. Every time I try to do something simple, the game's like, no. What? Absolutely not. I'm like, what the fuck did I do to you? Without further ado, you might be like, well, Grin, that was a lot. You just talked our ear off for like a solid 20 minutes, you deranged psychopath. Well, sorry. You also might be saying, well, let me see your build. What are you dealing? Are you dealing 10,000 damage, you glutton? No. I am a free-to-play. Are you insane? I can't do resin refreshes. This is the best I got. Best I can do is 8,000, all right, on a crit. And it's a 40% crit rate. So, but that's not bad. That's not bad. That's a big number out of nowhere. Not only that, but because I have Venti, which I would like to show you guys, that can get even more ludicrous, which I would love to show you guys at some point. In fact, we'll probably do it in this video. But yeah, there are definitely characters that like just mend well with Albedo to an incredible degree. But this should be a pretty good showcase. Oh, we even got a Geo person just chilling. But the one thing that is evident with Albedo, you want to make sure you switch off of him. Yeah, because you don't want, oh, fucking, I hate a barrel. Shit, this. We'll do this. Now we'll switch, and we do, so right there, it's not exactly 8,000, it's 790 or something, and then when it's a non-crit, it's 6,000. So it's not a bad, like, even when it's not doing well, it's doing well. So right there was 800, or 8,000, sorry. It was just 7,900, and please, give me that. All right. This, and we're gonna do this. By the way, they do resonate with each other, but it's 7,000 right there, just on a proc. I didn't even know how that activated. But yes, 3,000 on a weak. Oh no, that okay. So one of the things that is, I didn't know it, but it's pretty apparent. It's when my character melees and we attack a Geo buff, it hits so much harder. So like, see, we just did 7,000 right there, and when we hit again, we did it 3,000. But I think when we hit for 3,000, we don't actually hit for 3,000. I think it's hitting his shield, or it's just a low damage cost in general. Because it's really weird in that sense. I think it's like when this thing hits, which does not have a lot of attack at all, it doesn't hit for that much. It hits like 3,000. But when my Razor hits, who does have a pretty good amount of attack, it hits even harder. But needless to say, anything around me tends to die. So it's again, I'm not sure if it's just the numbers are being weird or some of them numbers are bigger or shorter than others. But let's go to a place that's a little bit more like conflated with enemies. Yeah, this domain's not going to work because it gives you a physical damage buff, but even still, just trust me when I say whenever I activate Albedo's ult, it's gonna make Razor hit way harder, as well as I think Zhongli's meteor hit harder because I think it also scales a little bit with attack. But yes. Anyways, let's just activate this. Now, by the way, we're on level 80, just so that I can show you guys a proper damage showcase. I couldn't see anything from that. Why didn't it pop up? Anyways, bop. All right, don't do this. Don't do this to me. So it says 3,000 right there, but I think that's just because my things are resonating and that doesn't deal enough damage. But if I hit you, sorry, if I hit you, 3,000. What the heck? 6,000. That's not even crit. That's not a crit either. 6,000. 300. Okay, it's critting with that. 6,000 again. Yeah, see, so it's kind of weird because it sometimes just pops off in a big way, and then other times not so much. It's like anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000, and I'm like. And I don't even know if it's critting, you know? Also, we could do this and increase our attack. Could do this. But see, that was like 2,000, 4,000. Again, it's weird. Sometimes it hits for like 2,000, and other times it hits for 4,000. So I think it's all just a weird finagliness of whenever you get a crit. Like right there, it was 8,000. What? That was like a crazy amount of 8,000. Yeah. So like that, 3,000. If I hit you, 6,000. Like what the fuck? We were just doing 3,000. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make no sense. But the thing that is evident though, and it's so valuable, it's every single time, first of all, just stop, but every single time we actually impact with our character, it's doing Geo AoE damage. So if you have any character that can bring characters together, it gets pretty nutty pretty fast. Also, where are you? I'm just gonna do one of these because I can't. There it is. There you are. Pop. Oh, of course you dashed. 6,000 right there. Solid. 7,000. Boom. Bop. 3,000. Again, it's weird. On the low end, when it's not happening, it definitely doesn't happen. We'll just end you with this. But yes, one thing that oh, I didn't mention that. How Albedo regenerates his energy. I heard some people crunch the numbers and they were saying that it's not that much. But the thing is it's basically similar to Zhongli, except to me way better, because every single time Zhongli's pillar resonates, boom, it gives you a chance of regenerating a particle or creating a particle, which happens so few times. But how Albedo works is every single time you impact, every 2 seconds, and that splash radius, you're able to generate a particle from that. So to me, again, I have never not found my Albedo having his ult. Even though I don't have Festering Desire Sword with energy recharge on him anymore, I still find I have my ult all the time. I still find Zhongli has his ult all the time. I still find all of that happens incredibly consistently. So yeah, I don't think that's something that's like, yeah, the math may show, oh, there's a 60% chance for Albedo to regenerate his energy, which is true. But the fact that you're able to roll the dice every 2 seconds, and when you're playing in any sort of combat situation, you're constantly spewing out damage, it just gets wonderful, like breathtakingly wonderful. Anyways, but I want to show you guys how he plays with Venti, which with Venti, it's pretty solid. Especially if you have Venti built pretty well, and I'm lucky enough to have that. So, although it would be, I could always make Razor detonate his Blizzard. But yes, I want to show you guys how he functions with Venti, because Venti will pull every enemy in, and because every enemy is close to one another, every single time Albedo detonates with his Geo, they're all going to be sharing that damage, which just creates kind of this trifecta of chaos and lovely damage and all that stuff. You love to see it and all that. We're going to, of course, do this. We're going to switch off him immediately. Oh, thank God that didn't auto do that. That would have been awful. All right, I get it. Let's do this. Also, any enemies in the radius. Oh, you're perfect. Stay right there. We're going to detonate that with this. Now look at that. Also, we can reapply this to activate it again. So that's going to keep detonating Albedo's charge, making everyone incredibly weak, which is fantastic. But yeah, that we just cleared that out immediately. But that's also the loveliness of Venti and all those things. I want to do this.
Time for takeoff.
I hope this works. No, it didn't. We can quickly reapply. It's fine. It'll work out. This. And then this. Yes. And if we wanted to be a little extra, we could do this as well. We could do this. I'll switch to Venti. Sure, Zhongli, I didn't mean to do that. We can do this as well. Activate this. Now Venti's stuff's back. We can do this. Now it's going to keep detonating his things, as you guys can see. We should also make this electric. There we go. Now it's going to keep detonating. It's kind of strange, actually. I want a redo of that. But anyways, we cleared that out like in seconds, faster than the other one, which is the case for everything. Like, you're not supposed to be sitting there like while they're helpless. But it does seem like sometimes it doesn't detonate. So I think you're the best bet is just stay with Venti and just pop little arrows just to see if you can actually get them to pop. So let's try that again, except this time let's make sure Venti keeps firing and not just like watching like a weirdo. But no, needless to say, I'm so happy with Albedo's performance, like a crazy degree happy. I will say it is weird in its variability. Like again, sometimes you're always hitting for 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, but then other times you're like, wait, is that 3,000 I just seen? Is that because Zhongli's pillar pulsed and detonated it and not Razor, who has a higher attack? I don't know. I guess. Well, shit. I don't really know. It's weird. But let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I probably should have made this happen, so that way it's detonating. Switch to Venti. Switch to Venti. There we go. Geo detonate. Geo detonate. Geo detonate. Geo detonate. Geo detonate. Look at that. Oh, there's one left. We'll do this. Smack. There. Dead. Let me do this. I don't have his thing there. Alright, let's just switch to Venti. Hit. Oh, his thing didn't get deployed. What the heck? Did I get hit so I got interrupted? That's bullshit. That's some bullshit. I hate it. Oh my God, Venti. You're fucking what? Jesus Christ. Okay, so now I just want to keep shooting you. No, shoot them so that it detonates. It's very, sometimes it just pops off in a huge way. Regardless, we can just wrap you up like this. This. He's gonna teleport away. I hate you. I hate you more than you know. I do notice that I always have Venti's ult though with him, which is nice. But yeah, sometimes it detonates and other times it takes a long time. Like 3,000 right there. Weird. Anyways, he is dying. So that's like the thing that I'm also confused about is like sometimes it shows 3,000, but it still smashes him like it's 8,000. So I don't know if it's just a weird, like maybe if I slowed down I could see it, or if it's just I don't know. We could try doing this with my normal team, which is level 90, which I could show you guys. We just clear out just as fast, but this time I'll use everything in combination with itself. So yeah, we were doing a level 80, which will show us like a proper damage showcase, and I think this will still show us a proper damage showcase. But let's go with our original team, which is Chi-Chi in the mix. Which the reason why Chi-Chi's there is because Razor's there. So super conduct lowers their defense. Razor does amazing physical damage, which is what it's resisting. Zhongli gives Razor an amazing shield, and in the future might debuff them even further, which is absolutely insane. Anyways, let's wrap this up. Now without Venti, it's going to be a little bit more of a chase, which is fine. Didn't mean to do that, meant to do this. Now we can go ahead and play with Razor as much as we possibly want. He's right there, we'll see him perfectly fine. Okay, apparently though, we actually are missing him. Let's do this. Activate our ult. Bop! Doing a great bit of damage. We should also stay in his area so that we can make use of Albedo. We're going to get a huge attack bonus. We're also going to do one of these. We're also going to reapply this just so it's perfect. And now we have our dog, so we can unleash him. Boom, boom, boom. Increase attack speed. Of course, she teleports. The piece of shit. But see, right there, we're doing 6,000. Then we do 2,000. Absolute madness. Anyways, we'll do this. We'll do this. Do that so we can get some health. Switch to Razor so we can fuck some shit up. Oh, it's bad. Switch off, Razor. Switch off, Razor, please. We can do this. Do this. Ah, fuck. We don't need her healing thing. But see, 6,000 right there, and then other times it's not 6,000, and it's just a confusing nightmare. 8,000, like what? But again, it's not even like it's such a weird variability that it almost seems like it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're doing great, other times it's just absolutely confusing. We're gonna heal up with Razor. Yeah. So again, like you think a normal attack and a crit hit would be it, but it seems like there's some weird denominator thing in there that's just making no sense. You know what I mean? Like you're like, but wait, beforehand it was like 6,000 to 8,000 or 8. You know, like it's like okay, that's a crit hit, makes sense. Nah, but then it's like, well, wait, now it's 3,000, and I'm like, okay, but maybe it's because they're higher level. But then we hit for 8,000 again back there, and I was like, what? What's going on? I'm so confused. But I do notice everything dies, so maybe there's just a weird thing with the thing, or maybe I'm just misunderstanding something and I didn't know that that crit could be that much of a difference. But or maybe it scales with your base attacker, so that's why when Zhongli and him, when those pulses happen, it doesn't hit as hard. You do like 3,000 damage just because these are not built for, Zhongli's not built for his Geo Elemental Resonance. But when I hit with Razor, who does a pretty decent amount of attack damage, then that scales Albedo's ult up, but then that doesn't make sense because when Albedo hits enemies just by themselves, he fucks them up. I can show you real quick that Albedo, when he does impact with just his little baby blue sword that has no base damage, he does actually imply the Blossom and it does a decent amount. Maybe this is a bad example because this enemy's pretty stacked, but still. Or is this a different thing? Oh no, this is a pretty good showcase actually. We'll do this, but see, even when we impact, that's 7,000, like right there. 3,000, see? It's a huge difference when it crits. Anyways, we'll just do this to wrap this up. Will that kill everyone? Ugh, I didn't mean to make it kill everybody. See, and then 8,000. So shouldn't it have just been 7,000? Like, why is it increasing? We didn't ult with Albedo to increase his attack to make that make sense. So, guys, I made this video because I was lost on the notion of how to build Albedo. Should you build him for attack, which people were saying, build this specific watch for attack, which people were saying when he first came out, because if you didn't have the constellation for him, it wouldn't be worth it. But then people were like, no, it's still worth it, because his main E is scaling off of his defense by a crazy amount, so every time you upgrade, it scales more with defense rather than your attack, so it's better to build him for defense. But then the only thing that I really need, if I want to make him even crazier, is if I can get one of these, or any of, well, these are pretty okay. These two are pretty solid because they got crit rates and crit rate, and crit damage. 26 crit damage is pretty solid. But if I can get one of these and maybe this one with crit rate, and then I can change this one to crit damage, then that's when we'll start hitting really, really hard. But it's because I have 40 crit rate that it's not as ideal as it could be. That's why we're dealing anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000, which doesn't seem like it makes sense. Seems like it shouldn't be that much of a jump, because then sometimes we're dealing 6,000 and then 8,000, which to me I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's a crit and all that stuff. But anyways, crazy nonsense. It also could have something to, no, because yeah, we just hit 8,000 there and we didn't activate his elemental mastery passive when he activates his ult. But yeah, by the way, that's something that I sometimes I'm not on showing you guys, where the ideal combination for me, how I kind of play Albedo, is I pop this, and then I just do whatever I want. I could go and pop Chi-Chi and quickly smash some things with Razor if I don't have his ult on cooldown. But how I typically do the sequence of events if I have their ults is I always switch to Albedo, activate his ult, switch to Zhongli, drop his meteor, just because I just have those on cooldown doesn't make any sense, especially when his E is constantly up and that's constant potential profit, so it's just stupid to have it sitting there. And then I usually switch to Chi-Chi, and then switch to Razor, activate wolf form, and just smash. And if I need any more help, if I notice I'm like, there's enemies that hit hard, before I go to Razor, I'll I'll go to Albedo, activate his ult, go to Zhongli, activate his meteor, go to Chi-Chi, apply a healing thing, go to Zhongli, activate this, and then just rip everything to shreds with Razor. But that's only if I'm fighting an enemy that hits really, really hard, and I'm like, okay, need a little bit more protection, you know? But otherwise, Chi-Chi can usually get me through. But yes, give me damn. Give me these. Give me this. Why didn't you activate your fucking lunge? Wait, this is the moment. Grab it! I got it! Shit, it finally worked out. Oh, you pop. And pop. Oh, you're immune. So I didn't mention that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to make this video ages. It's just I keep forgetting to talk to you guys about stuff. So one of the things that people haven't talked about is how absolutely, see right there, we have Zhongli's ult back because you just gain so much by his particles. Even though the math doesn't say it does, it does. Anyways. One thing that you got to note with Albedo, and no one's I've heard talk about this, there are a lot of things that Albedo has weaknesses to. For instance, the huge weakness with Zhongli and Albedo is that both of these can be destroyed by bosses, which sucks. So if you're fighting the wolf, it's almost impossible to keep these things up unless you're really strategic about where you're placing them. You can aim this thing, but in the middle of the combat when you're fighting the wolf, if you're at high level, the wolf smacks you and you get hit pretty hard. So probably stupid to do that. But anyway, say you do get the perfect placement, then you can maybe profit, but the wolf will hit this and just shatter them all, and you'll have to reapply them, and it'll stop you from dealing damage, right? So that's unfortunate. Also, something that's so stupid, and I wish they would patch it because it just seems like it makes no sense. But for whatever reason, your Blossom, this huge radius that's the entire thing that this character's built on, his E, doesn't get affected by wizards. So you have to break a wizard shield first in order for you to apply the detonate. But yet characters like Oz will continue to fire against the shield. So it doesn't make sense how that plays. So yeah, if there's Albedo is terrible with wizards unless you can strip their shield, and then he'll just shred them. But that's the case for anything. As long as you get their wizard shields done, they're fine. But that's the thing that Albedo just sucks so badly at, is if there's a wizard, you're kind of sitting there like, what? Why did I build this character? Because you can't deal any damage, which I hope they patch, because that just doesn't make any sense. Why you're building this character, and a character like Oz, who is just fantastic and can alley-oop you for so much damage. Also, the way Fischl's built is just insane. But yet, all that being considered, you still don't get that much profit when you're with a 5-star character that's meant to be this kind of like alley-ooping damage kind of character. It's silly. I think you should be able to fight wizards. I'm not saying we should like go fucking ape shit like we did for Zhongli. I didn't do anything for some of you guys, but I do think Zhongli should be able to like deal a little bit of damage against shields, even if it's only like 1,000 or something, like a little peck. But it just seems useless when you're fighting a wizard. You're like, what the fuck's the point? Why? Like, yeah, Fischl doesn't do this. Every other support character that exists in the game doesn't get nerfed like this, you know? Also, boom, pop. See, 2,000. It's weird shit. Zhongli, another 2,000. But see, we were doing it. Another one. Boom, 2,000. Do we always do 2,000? Or are we just not getting lucky with critting? 2,000. What if we hit you with Razor? 3,000. Oh, what if we hit you? First of all, I gotta move this. What if we hit you with this? 4,000. They don't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this video was supposed to be helpful. Oh my god, that's aesthetic as hell. But that's the way I have my Albedo built, mostly for support, again with Noblesse Oblige. I think that's probably, in my opinion, the best set to go for. Again, he's shit against wizards, and he, when it comes to boss fights, his constructs can get smashed, which is why, in some respects, Fischl can be better. but she can't. I don't think near the damage of just being a support. I think if you play her and you build her a certain way, then yeah, she can absolutely deal more damage than him, which doesn't make too much sense. He's a 5-star. Anyways, but Albedo can still be absolutely fantastic and amazing. And again, he's an alt battery for any upcoming Geo characters, and I think he's fantastic. Also, some people don't say he's an alt battery. I think they're nuts. If you've played him, yeah, I'm not sure what character you're playing, but he feels that way. I could be dead ass wrong. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. Subscribe button to my right, as well as 2 videos further that way. Thank you once again for your time. Also, sorry for the longest video ever. I didn't mean it to be this way. There was a lot to cover. Again, I think it's best to go for defense rather than attack. But on your last goblet or your last crown or whatever it's called, if you do have a lot of crit rate, then absolutely go for crit damage, and you'll be able to hit for like 10,000 damage. But have a higher crit rate than me, and you won't be dealing like 3,000 damage to 8,000 damage. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.